delighted to say that moving on for the opposition view is joining us is Simon Townley from the TurfCast podcast, our friends at the TurfCast podcast. Great having these guys on. But Simon, it's your first time. We really appreciate you joining us. An absolutely phenomenal win against Wolves last time out for your boys. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Not that Wolves have been great this season, but it was more the 3-0 up inside the first half and the hat-trick from Super Chris Wood that I think took everyone aback somewhat. You wrapped it up nicely, a perfect 4-0 win. What did you make of it? And surely you're safe now.
Well, you'd like to think so. I think we were safe before, which sounds a bit daft when you're only 6 points above. But it's so easy to look over your shoulder and think, oh, it's only 6 points. But when you're in that bottom three and you're looking up at 6 points, it seems a massive difference. So I always felt quite confident that we would stay up anyway. Apologies, guys, about my voice. It's gone all day. I don't know what's happened to it. But yeah, what a performance. I mean, that was not expected by any Burnley fan. I can tell you that categorically. I bet there'd be a rich man who put 4-0 on at the bookies, I'll tell you, because no one would have expected that.
Well, you're 14th now, Simon. And like you said, I mean, that's 9 points you are ahead of Fulham now. We're in 18th. You've got Southampton, Newcastle and Brighton between you. That's a nice little buffer, although it is still tight on points. You'd hope that those teams beneath you aren't going to get enough. Where did that come from against Wolves then? I know Chris Wood, he's a decent player, and as always happens with these things, he bags a hat-trick and all of a sudden there's talk about where he's going to go at the end of the season, etc., etc. But where did that game come from? You hadn't won since a game against Everton, some pretty iffy results, losing to Newcastle as well the week before. You know, it wasn't one I think that many people saw coming.
No, do you know what though? We have had some iffy results lately. For example, the Newcastle one is a perfect one, but we actually played quite well. It was only the introduction of St. Maximin and Wilson that just turned that game on its head all of a sudden, but it was too late to sort of get it back. So even though the result was horrific, I didn't come away thinking we were poor or anything like that. Southampton game, for example, another one before that, we was 2-0 up and got beat 3-2. So I think we were 2-0 up anyway, but we were winning definitely. And we lost it. And it's just, that's unlike Burnley to be ahead and then lose it. We found it difficult to get ahead, not keep a lead. Do you know what I mean? So the results haven't necessarily reflected the performance. And then the Wolves one was the complete opposite. Everything went our way. If I compare that to the Man United game, the one before, it was 1-1 till 80th minute, 75th minute area. A deflected shot, took it into the net to make it 2-1 and 3-1.
That was a fluke, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And 3-1 would never have happened if we didn't have to force the issue, because it just stretched the play and it opened up for them. But yeah, the opposite of that was the Wolves game, where everything just fell to place. Every attack, every ball over the top was straight at Chris Wood. He controlled everything. But being pretty honest, a bit truthful, Wolves were horrific. And I think that you'd have been a poor side to get beat against Wolves that day.
Yeah. Simon, away from the football just for a moment. See, Burnley had a takeover earlier this year.
Yeah.
I was just reading up on it earlier, and how worried are Burnley fans regarding this takeover? Because you've gone from having absolutely zero debt to now you're 90 million quid in debt. Is that a worry? Because I mean, first of all, it seems pretty sketchy from the outside looking in. But is that a worry? Because Burnley have always been quite well known as a very well-run club, very shrewd with its investments, particularly in the transfer window. And now 90 million quid in debt.
I think everybody's worried about it. There's been a mass sort of social media influx of people saying, you know, what is this? What were these people? Have they even got any money? A lot of questions have been coming out. Alan Pearce himself is on Twitter, and he's quite responsive with these things. And we're not used to any of this. We're quite underground, as you would say, as a club, and well run and well oiled. And now I'm having to learn new things about financial infrastructure of owning a club just to keep up with what's going on. So it is worrying and it is concerning. The way I've sort of educated myself to digest it easier, it seems to be that basically, you know, when you buy a house that's undervalued, So you do it up and then remortgage it to the actual worth. So you've got some money in your bank, but you're in a shitload of debt. That theoretically is what these guys have done. They've bought a club that they think is potentially more valuable and use its own assets against it to release the money back to them. That seems to be the simplest way to digest it, but I might be wrong on that. It is worrying, but it's also kind of exciting because where were we going to be in 5 years anyway? The way we was running, we've got an aging team, we've always been underdogs. We're always favourites to go down in someone's books. So I think that if we don't take this risk, we were probably 2 years away from a relegation anyway.
Do you think it adds more? Sorry, Tom. Do you think it just adds that added extra pressure though to Burnley Football Club in terms of having to stay in the Premier League? Because obviously, as you said, a lot of people will have Burnley to go down most seasons over the last 4 or 5 years, and Sean Dyche continues to work wonders, absolutely superb. But then there's pressure now that if you do go down with that amount of debt, like riddled with debt, like
game over, innit? You're bang on, mate. It could be potentially game over. We've seen it happen to our neighbours at Wigan. We've seen it happen to teams like Portsmouth when they've gone down. They've never really sustained it and got it back. It is concerning. It is worrying. But I do think that we would have always been a sustainable club. So, like you said, that is the biggest risk factor now. Is it we're going to be sustainable? But however, if you want to achieve anything, we did need an investment. And we do want to take it to that next level and finishing 7th. I can't remember the year, 2018, at the end of 2018 season, finishing 7th and getting that taste of Europa. It's just sort of given us a taste for something that we were striving for. Much like yourselves, you know what I mean? You're doing unbelievable this season. You've got yourselves to 4th and you're battling on for it. If you get that and then don't achieve that for 3-4 more years and you're just floating around, you start asking could we ever do it again, so to speak?
Yeah.
Simon, that's what I was going to say. I think Burnley get an unfair press sometimes. You came 7th, which is something that we could do this year, and we've got waxed lyrical about. You came 7th when we came 7th under Payet. We got all the attention. You got 0 attention. You came 10th 2 years ago. And Sean Dyche is truly doing an unbelievable job. Is there a worry, and this is no disrespect to you guys, but is there a worry that Sean Dyche will eventually look for greener pastures, or at least somewhere where he's got a new challenge, whether it's a better challenge or not, who knows? But is there a worry that Sean Dyche may be getting to the end of his tether and thinking that I'm going to find something new now?
Do you know what? It's a great question. It's so well put, really, as well, because I'm sick of hearing other people sort of diminishing it as like, oh, little old Burnley. So I think the way you put it is perfect, because Palace is one job that I've always been concerned about. I know West Ham's been mentioned a few times. I've never been too concerned about West Ham, and it's no disrespect to West Ham, but I also think that the infrastructure of Palace and the longevity and the, your recent managerial longevity hasn't necessarily been there. Whereas I think that Sean, from what he's got now, would he want to risk it? For example, I heard Spurs, the narrative on TalkSport this morning was all about Spurs. Why is he not mentioned for jobs like that at the minute? But like you say, you know what I mean? It's quite a gamble for him personally. He's got such a cushy job at the minute, mate. He could do anything. He could get relegated. He still have a job here. If he goes to you and has a bad thing and the fans are getting on his back, or he goes to Palace, that's the only thing that gives me a bit of confidence we'll keep him. However, I do think that if it was me and myself, he's not from around here. So I think he's from Northampton, played at Watford, etc. So I do think if a Southern Bound Club comes in, it would probably tempt him. So, yeah, I do think that that's a possibility.
It's a strange one on Sean Dyche, isn't it? I must admit, Simon, if I was a Burnley supporter, and I remember I was guilty of it last season. We had one of your colleagues on. I can't remember who it was now, but we had one of your colleagues on, and I said, I think it was Joe, yeah. And I remember saying there, being Burnley, you seem to just want to be quite happy existing. West Ham fans are a notoriously volatile bunch, and often got delusions of grandeur. I think we're a lot bigger and better than we are, and other clubs look at us and go, up until this season, you're just mediocre points fodder. We can easily pick up 6 points against you. Just stop thinking you're so massive. And I remember saying, what's it like being a Burnley fan? Because where the goal seems to just be to exist. because us at West Ham find that a little bit, or have found it frustrating. And to be fair, and I was surprised. I think Joe said, yeah, there is a bit of that. You've touched on it with the Europa League stuff. And do you find it frustrating continually getting asked questions? I'm not digging you out, Tom, but ask questions about Dyche, because I hate it about modern football. And it's a bit the same with Declan Rice now. There's almost that inevitability that players or managers are going to go just because they're performing well at a so-called smaller club. Is it frustrating with the Sean Dyche stuff?
It is. It's very frustrating because you don't want that instability about us when that's what we're kind of known for. So you don't want to start having people rock your own boat when you've done nothing wrong yourselves. So yeah, it does get frustrating in that manner. But to be honest with you, I think it just breeds success because people are looking at you anyway and saying, well, they're doing well. Why should we not take Tarkovsky's, Dash, Popes? You know what I mean? We are just, it's just we're victims of a success rate at the minute. And are we becoming a feeder club to some descriptions? You remember years ago, Southampton were that kind of club with Liverpool, and they offloaded a lot of players to bigger clubs, as you would say. But Dash doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think if he got a job like at West Ham or Palace or Spurs or something and got given the time, he would build something special somewhere. But he's done it at Burnley with zero money. I think he spent 2 million this summer. And one of them was on Dale Stevens, so I don't even know if you can count that. I don't even remember last time he played. So it's been a miracle. It doesn't bother me necessarily, like I say. I think it means that we're actually doing well if people are talking about us, so it doesn't necessarily bother me. You guys, for example, with Moise, I think that you're probably ummed and ahed about it, but there's something can be special about just starting from scratch again and just saying, right, let's get back to basics. Let's play football, long ball if you have to. Do you know what I mean? This continental football doesn't necessarily always work, and it can bring success going back to like 4-4-2s and all that.
I've just interested about the Chris Wood thing, because I've just had a look at his stats. He scored 44 goals in 122 games in the Premier League, and Mikel Antonio scored 43 in 150 games. And we wax lyrical about Antonio, and we love him, and he's done a lot of good things. But Chris Wood is one. I just want to know, in sort of the greats of Burnley Football Club, where does he stand? Because those numbers are seriously good. I can't think of anyone scoring that level of goals for West Ham since I've been a fan in the Premier League. And it just interests me that, one, no one's taken him, not to say that they can just bully Burnley, but where do you rank him and how highly do you rate him? Because there's some seriously impressive numbers in the Premier League.
Yeah, do you know what? He's massively underrated, not just by the Premier League, not just by other clubs, but by Burnley fans. Burnley fans get so frustrated with him. I mean, he's possibly one of the, you know how every club has that player that you just get on the back. He's kind of one of them players for us because he's offside so many times. The fans will get on his back. But I've got an interesting stat that I've seen earlier on Twitter, and I've nicked it from, let me just have a look what it says, 5 yards. And it's saying like most accurate shots in the Premier League for a striker, right? Minimum 30 shots this season. Chris Wood is on 34 shots on target. There's 59%, which is higher than anyone else. Lacazette second, Calvert-Lewin third, Jesse Lingard fourth, Diego Jota, and then Rodriguez. And like you said, no one ever talks about him. But if he finishes our top goal scorer this season, which is highly likely he's going to be, it's the 4th season in a row he's been the top goal scorer for us. But is he going to be on a Hall of Fame at Burnley Football Club? Probably not. And I couldn't answer that why, because he's actually doing an unbelievable job.
Mm-hmm. Simon, looking ahead
to... he's not English. If he was an English centre forward, will we be raving about him? Would clubs be looking at him more?
Will he go then? Just before James cuts in. Sorry, James. Will he go anywhere, Simon? Can you expect anyone? There's been talk about it, or do you think it's just Burnley's his fit? Sorry, Jonesy.
Absolutely not. No, I think he could go somewhere, mate. I think the fact that he's not English necessarily doesn't tie him to us. You know what I mean? Like, we're quite a local-based team. Sometimes we get a bit of a community spirit around us. So I don't know necessarily if he would have the same ties to the club as others maybe at the club do. So I think if an offer came in, and I don't know how it all works with their agents.
Because we've been linked. Could you see him at us?
To be fair, I could. I genuinely could. I could see him at, clubs that are in the top 10 consistently. I know you guys are this season, but I could genuinely see him as a top half Premier League player because his shot accuracy is phenomenal for a club like us. We don't get many shots where in my hand as well. So yeah, no, fair play to him. I think he's probably worthy of getting the whispers now.
So I'm looking ahead to Monday.
Yes, mate.
West Ham don't have a great record at Turf Moor. You guys on the back of a huge win. We've lost our last two. But it would argue there's a lot more at stake for West Ham. But do you think Burnley, perhaps given that you're all but safe, do you think that there might be a little bit of not so much being on the beach, but kind of a little bit more like we've got that big win out of our way now. We can relax a little bit, or can we expect to come up against an even more resilient and strong Burnley as we saw against Wolves?
I think if I was, do you know what, it'd be understandable if we took our foot off the gas a little bit. But I think if you was ever to expect to come against an anything but a well-drilled 100% Burnley side, we'd be naive to think that. Possibly with the pressure off, let's see. I don't know, because it's very rare as a Burnley fan that we are not fighting relegation, or in that one season where we finished 7th. Even this season where Tom mentioned that we finished 10th, it was only the last couple of games it disappeared from us, the Europa. I think Sheffield was above us. And, we were possibly in there until the last game or two. So it's very rare to see us with the pressure off. But mathematically, mate, we're still not safe anyway. So maybe we will just go into the full hard-hearted talent, and get on with it. But I don't know yet, mate. I'm not 100% on that one.
Yeah. Well, look, Simon, it's been absolutely brilliant having you with us. Great insight. Just before you go, I will get a score prediction off you, but I hear you actually cut the hair of some of the Burnley players. So I want to hear from you. Who's the best and who's the worst of the Barnets that you have to sort out at Burnley? And I bet you've had some serious business now. Lockdown's up.
Yeah, well, it's been quite busy at the minute, but sorry again about my voice. It's on its way out. Do you know what? I get more credit for Matt Lawton's hair. I'll probably get more credit for that one because it's more visual. Although after last week's performance at Wolves, my Twitter and Instagram went off because of the Chris Wood haircut. So yeah, I'll probably save them two at the minute.
Oh, good man. Well, if Chris wants any tips on what's life is like at West Ham next time he's in, feel free to hand him our numbers. But look, just before we let you go then, Simon, it's been brilliant having you with us. What's your score prediction? Burnley versus West Ham, Monday night, 8:15 kickoff at Turf Moor.
Do you know what? Because we're at home, I do fancy us. But you're fighting a different fight than us at the minute, and I think yours is a stronger battle. So I don't think it'll be an easy win if we are to win it. I think I'd take a 1-0 now, to be honest with you. I think you'll come out battling. Fair
play, 1-0 from Simon. Tom Edwards, what are you saying?
Yeah, heart's not saying good things, but I'll go. I think 1-0. I think 1-0 West Ham. I think either way, I'm with him. I think 1-0 either way, and I'll go West Ham.
Okay, Jonesy.
Richwood always scores against us, doesn't he? So
yeah,
I think Burnley will get on a score sheet, but someone's telling me that we're going to bounce back after the two defeats. I'm going to say 2-1. It'll be tight. It definitely will be tight. 2-1
to West Ham.
Yeah.
All right, 2-1 to West Ham. I'm going to go 1-1. I went 0-0 last week, and I just like being right. No, I just fancy it's one of those. I can just see how us sliding down a bit. It's not going to be an easy game, like you say. Our record there is not phenomenal. We looked a little bit blunt, and I think that lack of genuine investment starting to catch up with us now. So
he's definitely going to be back.
Exactly. Yeah, I think 1-0.
I think he will be.
Yeah,
who's that?
That's a worry. Sorry, Declan's going to be back. That's a worry for us because you look a different team with him in your side.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know if he's going to be back to full fitness, but I'm going to go 1-0. But look, Simon Tanley there from the TurfCast podcast. Been brilliant having you with us, mate. Thanks so much for joining us for the first time.